What's up, Nostalgia Maniacs? I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for tuning in, no matter where you're enjoying our content. Whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or another platform, or if you're tuning in live on YouTube or Facebook, we truly appreciate you. If you could like and share on whichever platform you're on, it would mean the world to us. Thanks for being a part of this journey. Now, As always, let's get nostalgic.
Glow, the 90s flare, joystick battles and pixel care. Each tale we tell, each laugh we share. It's a gamer's journey beyond compare. Nostalgia Mania, press start and see the games of the past where we long to be. Tune in each week, it's time to rewind. Retro memories for the gamer's mind.
Welcome in to yet another edition of Nostalgia Mania. What was that, man? Were you reading the official strategy guide of WWF No Mercy?
I was, man. Refreshing up my my moves list.
I like it.
Gotta get those combos in right, man.
I like it. What a way to kick off the episode, man. I love it, man. We are on episode 26 of Nostalgia Mania. We are your ultimate throwdown of games, movies, toys, memories that shaped the golden era of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. So get ready to step into the ring as we body slam nostalgia and deliver a finishing move to the classics that defined our childhood. I am your host, the real Josh Elliott, and with me, as always, is Derrick Stitchamania. What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Wonderful. This is going to be a jam-packed, fun episode of WWF No Mercy. Appreciate Chase, Nathaniel, Riley in the chat. Yes, 26, man. We're plugging away. The I-70 hot tag in the chat. Appreciate you for tuning in as well. We're episode 26, and we are finally doing No Mercy. Something I thought was definitely going to be in the top 10 for sure. First 10, not top 10. First 10. So what's been going on, man?
Not too much, man. Just kind of, getting over from being sick and all that. So,
yeah, you were sick. Was it last week?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Did you end up going to the doctor? You said you had the same symptoms as the flu. Was that same deal, or what happened?
No, they told me I had human metapneumovirus, which is basically just an upper respiratory infection virus, whatever. And gave me some steroids and starting to get better. So
nice.
Yep.
Well, glad you're feeling better. Sucks
Yeah.
being sick, man. I had the flu earlier this year. Of course, the one year I don't go get the flu shot, the weather's like, you know what, we're gonna not really the weather, but anyway, got the flu. It was terrible. It was awful, and never gonna skip the flu shot again. So, but yeah, man. Episode 26. We're here. We're talking No Mercy. We had a fun episode last week. We kind of got off the beaten path a little bit and went with AOL and talked about, its start, America Online, our first introduction to the internet, all that good stuff. It was a lot of fun. All that stuff's up on our social media platforms. You can find it on YouTube at Nostalgia Mania or JSE Studios, actually. And then you can find our video library on our Facebook page at Nostalgia Mania. And we are live on both platforms. You can go follow us on all those platforms. You can also follow us on TikTok. We got a TikTok page now. I'm trying to be a daily poster on the socials now. I did a lot better, I think. What'd you think about the clips? I did a bunch of clipping last week, so
yeah, I liked it, man. They
4 or 5 different clips.
Yeah, they turned out really good.
So I'm going to try to do that more often, clip a little bit of the show and post it out for socials and kind of spread it out across all the platforms. I might do the same, might not do the same. So you might get different content depending on what platform you're on. So, yeah. And what you got a note here is how's your I guess system disassembling and reassembling, cleaning, all that going?
Well, I took apart my third controller. I still gotta actually put it together because I've cleaned it now a couple different times and it just hasn't gotten fully clean yet. And then I finally put together, which is right behind me. I finally put together my original Nintendo 64 system and got it back together again, so it still works. I've been playing some No Mercy, so it's been fun. So
it's always good when you put something back together and it still works.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And you don't have any extra pieces left over too. So
what you need to start doing is getting a game or a controller or something that does not work and figure out how to make it work. That should be your next. You got the cleaning down. You got the disassembling and reassembling. Let's fix them now.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, if that happens, I need to learn how to use a soldering gun.
That's part of it. Not always, but that is a lot of it to do with games not reading and stuff like that. There's contact connections and things like that. So.
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, man. This week we went up to the movie theater and took my kids to watch the Minecraft movie.
Yeah, how'd that go?
A Minecraft movie. It was fun, man. It was last minute. Like, we went to a birthday party on Saturday, and my cousins. Like, I've heard a lot of negative reviews. A lot of people did not like it. Now, again, it is what it is. People have their different opinions. They think it's a kid movie. They think it's not a kid movie. Whatever. But there's a lot of negative on it. So I was gonna wait until it came out on like streaming platforms or whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably still would have taken my kids. They love Minecraft. Anyway, my cousin kind of talked me into it because she said that they went on Saturday, or maybe it was Saturday morning they went, and she said it was one of the funniest movies. She goes, Jason Momoa and Jack Black was a duo that you didn't think you needed, and it was pretty good. I didn't hate it. Had a lot of good, had a lot of great Minecraft stuff. Kids loved it. I know a lot of the Minecraft stuff because of them and because I played it a little bit before they were born. But then it had a lot of like humor and adult innuendos and stuff like that. So like it's not just for kids, but it kind of plays into both. So if you take your kids, you're gonna laugh too, whether you know what Minecraft is or not. So I highly recommend it. I know you don't have kids, but you've got kids in your house. If they want to go see it, I recommend it. So,
yeah, I don't know. There's something about this whole like chicken jockey thing that's making its way around the internet. Like when the little zombie monster rode on the chicken and cops were being called at the movie theaters. And so I don't really know what all that's really about, but yeah.
Well, there was a preview, I think, that had to do with the chickens dropping into a lava pool to cook, and they were like torturing chickens. But they were they were Minecraft chickens. It's not like you're dropping a freaking real chicken in real lava. It's the dumbest thing. People were blowing up. I saw an interview with Jack Black, and he was, anyway, I don't understand why people were getting all up in arms about it, but
I don't either.
Well, let's kind of run into this, man. If you're watching live, like we said, we're live on our YouTube page each and every Tuesday night at JSE Studios, Facebook at Nostalgia Mania, Twitch, The Real Josh Elliott, all podcast platforms. You can listen to us usually 24 hours after we go live, maybe a little bit earlier. We're on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, CastBox. All the logos up there at the top right of your screen. You can find us on all major platforms. Just search Nostalgia Mania, and we are the logo with the Legend of Zelda triangle and the sword shown right above me right here. and you'll get all of our episodes, all 26 of them now. So where can everybody find you on social media?
Well, you can find me on all of them. So at either Stitch of Mania or Stitch of Effin' Mania. So, yep.
Nice.
And I just actually streamed on Twitch the other day. I streamed some MLB The Show Baseball 25 from Xbox. So
I saw that. I joined in for a couple minutes.
Yeah, I've been having fun playing that. Well, I thought my audio was in, but then I realized
it was. I heard you.
Oh, okay. Well, because it said I was part of a party, and so I thought all the audio got cut out of it. But it don't matter. I think I was falling asleep towards the end of the stream anyway. Yeah, I was pretty tired, and I don't know if any of that actually was hurt. Because I think I was snoring a little bit, and
I can only imagine.
I don't know if it was actually caught on there or not. So
talk about nostalgic, man. That right there, being on a headset and listening to late at night and then just hearing snoring noises in your headset.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
Oh man. All right. Well, let's jump into this, man. We got like we said, a packed episode. Did you have anything you wanted to add? We always do this. We talked about AOL last week. Did you have anything you wanted to bring up about last week's episode?
No, man. No, we covered it, much as we wanted to. And, well, I mean, I guess one thing is I can say real quick is, AOL actually started out as like a video game company. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what it was called, but yeah.
Quantum Link.
Yeah.
Is what it was called before AOL. And then it was CVC or something like that right before that. So actually the company started in like the 70s.
Yeah.
And Quantum Link took them over in the 80s, and AOL took it over in 91. Yep. I didn't know they were a video game company, but
yeah.
All right. Let's jump into this. WWF No Mercy. And we're going to start off the episode right by playing the intro to the video game. Let's take a look.
It's awesome, man.
I love that intro. I love old school wrestling intros, man, especially on N64.
Yep.
So nostalgic. And I really wish I was able to play it. I could. I just always like to cut out because I don't like to make those video clips much longer than a minute or, minute and 20. That intro goes for like 3 minutes. And I could have played the whole thing, but probably wouldn't make for great audio content or whatever. But, what an intro. What an intro. So, No Mercy released November of 2000, November 14th of 2000. We got it in North America. Europe got it a month later in December. Sold over 1 million copies, which is actually lower than what I thought it was. But sold 1 million copies. But back in the 90s, that was damn good. And reception. This game is considered by both of us to be definitely the best wrestling game on Nintendo 64.
Absolutely.
in the running for best wrestling game of all time.
Yeah, it's
Like,
top.
It's
probably top 3 for me.
Yeah, it's top 3 for me as well. I don't know many games, wrestling games for that's close. I mean, obviously both WCW games and on 64 were great, and that kind of kickstarted that whole not evolution, but like the rise of that concept of gaming was those two. But yeah, I mean, phenomenal game.
Yep.
That it had multiple awards, multiple nominations. Console fighting game of the year. It was a game of the year category for the 4th annual Interactive Achievement Awards. It was nominated for the best console fighting game, the N64 Game of the Year and Gamers' Choice N64 Awards at the Electric Playground Blister Awards in 2000. That's a mouthful.
A little bit, yeah.
But I want you to kind of talk about this next part, because this is kind of a crazy stat. Tell us about the 3. I guess I'm going to show the screenshot here while you talk about it. But the 3 or the 4 big ones on Nintendo 64 in terms of like selling copies.
Yeah, man, those 4 games right there are probably the greatest span in consecutive order of wrestling games of all time. Which is crazy because, No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000, as far as games are considered better than World Tour and Revenge. But yet, No Mercy and WrestleMania did not oversell World Tour and Revenge. Revenge is actually, if I remember right, Revenge is actually the highest selling wrestling game on the N64. And then World Tour, and then it's No Mercy. So No Mercy is actually 3rd. I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And then WrestleMania 2000, of course,
was number 4.
comes in there as well. So, and they're all 4 of them are, all made by the same companies. So, yeah,
because it was crazy because I could understand Revenge. When you messaged me the other day and you're like, man, you'll never guess what the best selling Nintendo 64 game was, and it's not No Mercy. And the way you put it, I was like, okay. So then I was like, it's definitely not Revenge, because if I'm never going to guess it, I'm not going to guess Revenge.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'll just go, so I went off the wall and I was like, is it, no way it's Backstage Assault. Is it Mayhem? And I was just going off the wall because the way you put it was like, you'll never guess it. Revenge, I could 100% see. I did not know World Tour was above No Mercy, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. But, yeah. Yeah, because, like I said, No Mercy is the 3rd best-selling wrestling game on the N64, and you know what? And it had its flaws, When you had 4 wrestlers on the screen, the game seemed to almost slow down a little bit, which I'm surprised that they didn't try to encompass the expansion pack, with the game to make it a little bit better. Because the expansion pack, I don't even think actually does anything for the game at all, which is kind of crazy. And then the ladder matches, they were actually supposed to have multiple ladders in them, but due to the the limitations, you could only have 1 ladder at a time.
Yeah. So
and maybe the sound, some of the reviews and critics kind of pointed out some of the sound, that it wasn't the best, it wasn't the greatest, but still a great game.
Chase in the comments talking about Warzone and Attitude. Yeah, I loved Warzone. I played Attitude a lot less, but I did play a lot of Warzone in there. And yeah, World Tour was a great game. It was 100%.
Yeah,
100% was a great game. I didn't think it outsold No Mercy, but
yeah. Warzone and Attitude, Chase. They were made by Acclaim. So an Acclaim, they're responsible for games like NBA Jam, and a South Park game that was for Nintendo 64, and quite a few other games as well. So,
yep. So this game was developed by Asmic, and you already said it. World Tour, Revenge, WrestleMania 2000, No Mercy. They also did the first Civilization game.
Yep. Which is the only one that they were actually a part of. Now, I think Civilization is just one of those types of games that you just build up literally like a civilization, like you build kind of like a kingdom or so.
Nice. Nice. AKI Corporation.
Or Aki. I always called it the Aki Corporation. Yeah.
The Aki. Yeah. AKI, Aki, whatever.
Because they actually had on No Mercy, they actually had the Aki man and the Aki woman. Or no, on Revenge. On Revenge, they had Aki man.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I it just hit me.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize it was for this company.
Yeah, you could put because his mask, he's got the logo on his white mask. They have the profile pictures for Aki Man and Aki Woman on No Mercy, so you could change your profile picture to them if you wanted to.
We're gonna clip this for those people who are watching, listening. We're gonna post this on the social medias. Is it Aki or is it AKI? You tell us, because I want to know. And in the chat if you're watching live. Chase, I know, is here. But one of the biggest developers of this game is THQ.
Yep.
And probably one of the biggest developers.
Publisher.
Publisher, sorry. Yeah. One of the biggest publishers for wrestling games in the 90s. And really a little bit further on than that. Did World Tour, Revenge, WrestleMania 2000. This is the last game that THQ did on Nintendo 64. But they came back, didn't they? Didn't they come back and do WWE games later? Was it 13?
Yeah, well, 13 was their last game that they did.
So that's when they stopped.
Yeah, because THQ they went bankrupt in 2012. But I'm gonna back up here. So Aki or AKI, they're responsible for like a boxing game that was on the Wii called Ready to Rumble Revolution. And they're also responsible for the Def Jam games, Vendetta and Fight for New York. I didn't play much of Vendetta, but I played a lot of Def Jam Fight for New York. And that game was phenomenal because it had rappers and stuff like that on it. And that's who you were wrestling as. And that made it awesome. And the storyline of it was pretty good. And plus it had the same gameplay and the same mechanics as, these great wrestling games that, that we loved. And, but like the other games, I didn't know any of them. I didn't recognize any of them. I didn't recognize really any of the ones that Asmisk, Ace Entertainment did.
Yeah.
But THQ, they were in business for 35 years. Or almost 35 years. And, and they started out selling toys. That's how THQ very first started.
Yep.
Was selling toys. And then he transitioned, the owner or the founder, transitioned from toys to video games. And then unfortunately, in 2012, before Christmas time, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. So, to have that great a span, with publishing video games, especially some of the successful ones as THQ had, they still because, it started in the 2000s, they started acquiring companies. They started buying up companies and assets and stuff like that. And then,
what's up, Hunter Dillon in the house? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Appreciate Hunter for tuning in.
Yeah. Thanks, Hunter.
SmackDown versus Raw. Yes. I think we're definitely going to do that first SmackDown game at some point in time for sure. So, anyway, continue. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
But yeah, they just had a string of bad luck and couldn't pay back some money that they borrowed, and so now THQ for the most part is not necessarily still around. I mean, they are, but they merged with Nordic Games, and then they wanted to kind of be a part of the THQ history. So they call themselves THQ Nordic now. So yeah.
Speaking of history, here's kind of the logo history of THQ. That's a wild logo. I've never seen that logo on the top left. That's crazy. A gray THQ Inc. toy headquarters. Like you were talking, they started off as a toy company. And then obviously the ones that we're probably the most familiar with is probably 1994 through 2011. Those three, I'm kind of really familiar with those. And then like the bottom one, I don't really recognize at all. But
yeah, the 2011 and 2013 ones, it was on the newer WWE games, like 2011, 2012, all the way up to 13. So
we're going off path. Chase loves to do this on the I-70 hot tag. So we are going completely off script here, and he said it twice. So I'm gonna bring it up to you. Tell me about Shaft and Mr. Rogers.
So I had an old friend of mine. Me and him played this game religiously. He actually was a neighbor of mine. And he created wrestlers like I did. Well, one of the wrestlers he created was Shaft, and but he also created Mr. Rogers as well. I mean, I'm talking when I'm talking Mr. Rogers, I'm talking about he had the glasses, he had the gray hair, he had the sweater, the khakis, the slacks, the shoes. Well, of all the finishing moves that he decided to give him. So Linda McMahon and Stephanie McMahon were two playable characters that were in No Mercy, and they had the finishing move, which is called the bitch slap, and it was literally, you tie them up, and then you cock back your hand and you slap them right across the face, and then they fall down, and then afterwards you grab your face in shock, like, oh my God, what did I do? Just like how it panned out in WWE in the story mode, when Linda slapped Stephanie, and was shocked about it afterwards. So you had Mr. Rogers, man. But the same old friend of mine that I had. He played a mutual friend of ours named Matt at my house, and me and my friend, we were really good. We were really good at No Mercy. We really were, because we played it all the time. We play each other. We play, we would tag team, whatever, put it on hard, whatever. Well, my friend, he took Mr. Rogers. And then our friend Matt went up against, picked somebody, and then he just completely annihilated him with Mr. Rogers. I've never seen Mr. Rogers kick so much ass in my life. But yeah, man, seeing him do the Stephanie slap or the Linda slap, oh man, it was so awesome. It was just one of the funniest things on there. And yeah, just like what Chase said in the chat, like we used to create so many wrestlers on that game, and including No Mercy as well, or not No Mercy, but WrestleMania 2000. Excuse me. Yeah. So
Dear God.
what's funny is I actually created Will Smith on I believe it was WrestleMania 2000, and or I could even create him on No Mercy, and I could give him the bitch slap. I mean, I could. Speaking of that, the crazy thing is that it's already been over 3 years since Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. It's been over 3 years already, which is insane to me.
Has that doesn't really?
Yeah. Because it happened in 2022. Wild. Yeah.
That's wild. You predicted the slap heard around the world.
Yeah, right. But
memory card full of creative wrestlers, man. And them I had them. I did. I did, probably not to the extent of you guys, but I remember saving creative wrestlers on memory cards. Yep. It was yeah. Man, I'm glad you brought that up. I know you were going to tell that story, but I wanted to get that out of the way and get it because Chase was chomping at the bit for it. So.
Oh yeah.
But so let's jump into the development of the game a little bit before we talk about memories and all that good stuff. There was a canceled feature on the game. As we said, it was announced in early 2000, and a playable demo version was shown at E3 that year, and they kind of showcased all sorts of different wrestlers. And a companion title for the Game Boy Color, a platform that we have not really talked about yet on Nostalgia Mania. We will eventually, don't worry. Mm-hmm. But they announced a game on Game Boy Color, which would kind of allow players to use the transfer pack to import their points in the portable game to spend in rewards in the Nintendo 64 version at the SmackDown Mall. And I guess there was going to be a special storyline path that you could play through in the championship mode. But it was canceled. Don't know why, but I'm assuming probably not enough, storage on the car. I don't know why it was canceled, but that sounded like a pretty damn cool addition to the game to be able to transfer from game to game to kind of help with your points.
Yeah, I think that would have been awesome, man. It would have been definitely a pretty cool thing to do. And you know what? If that was a feature that they would have kept in the game, that definitely would have made me, get the transfer pack and, Game Boy and do all that stuff with, so.
100%. 100%. Tell me about this, because you asked me about this off air. Tell me about this cartridge recall that I really didn't even know existed.
Yeah, I didn't either until, doing some research on it. So after the game was released, the game cartridges, the save data would be erased. And THQ recommended that players, reset their game, to the factory default, and, and that would fix the issue. Well, it didn't really fix the issue. It didn't help. So
basically what it was doing was just all your save files are just completely gone.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yep.
Now, correct me remind me, did the N64 had memory cards, right?
Oh yeah. I've got plenty of them.
So was that's separate. You'd save your game on a cartridge, but then you'd also save it on a memory card.
Yeah. So yeah, you had game data and then you had memory card data. So if you wanted to save a file of No Mercy, it took 32 pages. And these memory cards, now this is one that's got 4 pages on it. So it's got, 123 times 4, whatever that is. It's got plenty of memory on it. But yeah, I took up 23 pages. Or no, I'm sorry, I didn't take up 23. I took up 32 pages of memory. 32 pages. These hold 123. That's where I was getting the 23 from. But yeah, you had game data and then you had memory card data. But if you wanted to save the game, your wrestlers on here, you had to save it on the memory card. You had to save your wrestlers. Because the cool thing is you could transfer your created wrestlers from the game to the memory card. So like let's say you had like Goldberg or something on there. Well, you were tired of Goldberg. You wanted like Roman Reigns or something if you created him. Whatever. Then you could switch them. Or if you had WCW wrestlers on your game cartridge, you could take them all off, put them on the memory card, and they would stay there. So
can you create like young children or babies on this game?
No.
Because that would be about the age Roman Reigns was when we were playing this game.
Well, I actually did doing the research. I did see a screenshot of somebody that did create Roman Reigns on No Mercy. And what they did is they gave him the Undertaker shirt, like the one where he's got the cross and the X on it, which actually looked kind of like his shirt.
Yeah.
Because, that's what you had to do on a lot of these wrestlers. You had to, if you wanted these wrestlers that weren't on the game, you had to make their uniform or their outfit, you had to make it too close as possible as you could to what they actually wore. And either it looked good or it didn't look good. I actually have quite a few wrestlers that actually look really good. And see, this was back just going off pictures and videos and, like watching wrestling on TV, because we didn't have, such fluid access to the internet or cell phones, computers, so we just had to base it all off what we saw and what we remembered. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So, kind of keeping with the theme here with Create a Wrestler, there were 60 playable characters in the game, and over 60, and we could create our own characters. Now, you said how many could we save on? Do you remember how many we could save on the system?
18. You could save 18 on the game, and then 18 on the on each 32 page slot of memory for the memory card. Yeah,
nice. So yeah, this game kind of it featured a much more extensive character creation than say World Tour or Revenge. Definitely a lot more customization. You had body attributes. You could create female wrestlers, ring attire, entrances, moves. The entrances was the big thing for me. And we're going to play a game clip after this section here. But the entrances, for me, I love that aspect of this game. Because before, you would get it, but you didn't get the theme song. Like in Revenge, you would get like a basic, song. You'd get the entrance, which was still cool, but I like the realism of having their song. But like we said, 18 wrestlers saved on the cartridge, and love doing the create a wrestler stuff. I would create myself obviously and create the wrestlers. Josh Rush, you had Stitchamania, Chaos Chase was Chase. K9 with Brody. But I also love creating the WCW guys that are over there at the other company, bringing them over and playing. I did the same thing, with newer games. I do the same thing. So it was always fun to do. And that had a pretty damn good creation suite in my opinion.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite wrestler other than yourself? Because you did. I wish I had a screenshot of it that you sent in the chat of your create a wrestler. But outside of creating yourself, what who would you like to create the most? Who would you always a go-to wrestler that you want to create in this game? Or is there one?
Nah, I never really had a go-to wrestler because I created so many. So many I created. You know, like Goldberg and maybe Kevin Nash and like Scott Hall's Razor Ramon, whatever. Some of the guys that had like the bigger, cooler like special moves, finishing moves. Yeah, guys like those, just guys that had cool moves and stuff like that. So
Right. I talked about it. So let's play this intro. It's not an intro. I'm sorry. It's going to show you a handful of wrestlers and their entrances, and let's hope we don't get slapped with a copyright violation for playing their actual music on here. We'll see. We don't own this. My favorite feature is the entrances this game.
yeah, man, they were pretty cool.
Loved it. So we were talking a little bit earlier about the canceled game feature, but there was a rumor that AKI and THQ that they were going to develop a sequel to No Mercy.
Yep.
It was going to be called WWF Backlash. And they got into it, and they got it about 30% complete. And there was a screenshot that involved Kurt Angle and The Undertaker battling on the top of the cell. Do we have that screenshot?
No, but I actually saw the supposed screenshot. Because it was in a magazine apparently. So this magazine that it was in, I think it was called Game Pro. Supposedly had this screenshot, and I saw if it's the actual screenshot that they're referring to. Kurt Angle didn't look anything like Kurt Angle. It was in the Undertaker and a guy that was in black pants and black tank top. He had black hair. So yeah. It didn't look nothing like Kurt Angle at all. And then it didn't even really look like it was a cell match, so it was weird looking. But in this magazine, they had this article about this supposed game. They had this screenshot. They also claimed that it was going to have multiple ladders and I can't remember what else was said about it, but yeah, supposedly it was they were making it, and then I think in like 2020, some director or something was being interviewed for a magazine or a news article or something, and apparently the game never even existed, never was made, never. Now I don't know if it was ever considered even, but I think if they were gonna do it and then decided not to, then the reasons would have been like, they started working on the wrestling games on GameCube and PS2 and the first Xbox and stuff like that. Because that definitely would have been cool if they would have came out with another sequel, for sure.
Yeah, because you mentioned the multiple ladders because that was actually going to be a feature in No Mercy. We posted that on our socials, and they just couldn't logistically make it happen. We still got the single ladder in it, but still pretty cool that they were going to possibly move that over. So let's run through some of these game modes, man. So we are we could play with Nintendo 64. Obviously, you can play with 1 to 4 players. Had the Rumble Pack was supported. Had memory cards supported, and I got some screenshots here, and I've kind of skipped over some of these, but we'll kind of run through them. I got them as in order as I think. This is kind of that main startup screen that you get when you first start up the game. Actually, this is the screen you get when you first fire it up. And then you got that kind of your match types there: Exhibition, Royal Rumble, Pay-Per-View, King of the Ring, Guest Referee, which was pretty fun to play because you could actually be the guest. You could actually be the referee.
Yep.
If you were playing 3 players, right?
Yeah.
Ladder match and Iron Man match.
Which, the guest referee thing, I think that would definitely been something cool. Where if you had like it was 3 of you, like you had you and then your 2 other friends, like one of you guys be the guest referee, and I think that would actually be something that would have been pretty fun to do.
I loved Royal Rumble. Was always my fun one, and I loved having 4 people over playing the Royal Rumble all at the same time, and just such a fun match concept.
Yeah.
Tell me about championship mode and survival mode. Explain survival mode for people who may not know what it is.
So survival mode was basically you pick a wrestler and then you get into a gauntlet. And you had 4 wrestlers, with you included in the ring at one time. And, you could either be eliminated or get, eliminate people, either pinfall, submission, TKO, or throwing them out of the ring. And the longer you stayed in and the more eliminations you got, the more money you made to be able to use inside of the SmackDown Mall to purchase items from it. And the good thing is all the wrestlers, they didn't really gang up on you. It was, free for all. But apparently it had 100 wrestlers in it, or 99 wrestlers, because I guess you're one of the, the 100. So, yeah, you faced off against 99 other wrestlers, and, that was all. Yeah, and I didn't even play it very much. I don't remember playing it hardly at all.
Yeah, I don't remember it either, to be honest with you.
I played mostly just story mode and created wrestlers. Those are the 2 things that I did mostly on that game.
Yep. I agreed.
So
yeah, and like I said, I spent a lot of time in the Royal Rumble aspect of it. And I did play a few guest referee matches, which was always fun to do. But you mentioned SmackDown Mall. What all could you like? I remember you've got it right behind you, so your memory's super up front right now.
Oh, yeah.
Me, I haven't played the game since I was a kid, but watching the video.
Plus, I just remember it really well.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about what you actually would do in the SmackDown Mall, and what you could buy.
So in the SmackDown Mall, it was basically like an in-game store, and you could purchase 2 of the arenas that were in there, which was Armageddon and Backlash. You could get clothing items for your wrestlers, for your creative wrestlers. You could also unlock moves as well. They had a big list of clothing items and wrestling moves that you could unlock for the game. And you could also unlock 2 entrance props, which was like a cane, like a pimp cane, something that the Godfather would come out with. And then you could have a bazooka, which
a bazooka.
like a bazooka. So for your entrance, it's a fireworks launcher, basically. So if you remember when China came out, I believe it might have been WrestleMania. Chase would have to correct me if I'm wrong, but she'd come out with this big bazooka and start shooting fireworks into the crowd, or fireworks launcher. Well, not really into the crowd, but kind of into the crowd. But those were the only two that they had on there, which were kind of weird that there was only two of them. But then you could unlock weapons as well to be able to pull out of the crowd during your matches. So you had a barbed wire wrapped in 2x4. You had a briefcase. You had a big piece of cheese, which was awesome. And then you had a fire extinguisher, a foam bowl. So it's basically just a big version of The Rock's bowl, but it was a big foam version. And then you had a big foam middle finger from Stone Cold. Then you had Al Snow's mannequin head. And then you had a sledgehammer. And then you had like a big, it's called Steve's Can, which is basically a big beer can, which was almost as tall as one of the wrestlers was. And then you had The Rock's book. The Rock's book was probably my favorite weapon on there, because of all the stuff to pull out of a crowd, why would you pull out it was just a cool little add-on feature that they put in the game.
Was that that was his first?
That was
right.
Well, that was his first and his only book. Yeah.
Oh, I thought he wrote two. Okay.
I don't think so. I know Mankind or Cactus Jack or McFoley or Dude Love, whatever you want to call him, wrote multiple books. But yeah, it was
four different people. Those aren't the same person.
I know.
They were all in the same Royal Rumble. No way it's the same person.
Yeah. So then the wrestlers that you could unlock through the SmackDown Mall were Shawn Michaels, Cactus Jack, Ken Shamrock, Earl Hebner, and one of Godfather's lady escorts, simply titled Ho. Which, some creative thinking went into that. But yeah, you can use a lady escort as a playable character or wrestler. And I think what I ended up doing, I ended up changing her name and what she looked like in the game and changing her to somebody else. Because that was the good thing about the, creating wrestlers on the game, is you could also have fully customization over the actual wrestlers on the game, which is something that you never even had on WrestleMania 2000. Because if you go and you try to edit the wrestlers on WrestleMania 2000, you can't. The only thing you can do is change their name, and I think you can change their entrance music and maybe their video.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was pretty cool. But yeah. And you got money from playing in championship mode and then playing survival. And I guess you could rack up a lot of money playing survival mode, which I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to point out Aaron Wallace is in the house. Appreciate you tuning in on the YouTube. He says, I remember No Mercy because I still have the game, and it's so many characters, including Andre the Giant, HBK, and you could also play Howard Finkel, Michael Cole, and so many other characters. Speaking of, I'm going to try to zoom in here. I got a screenshot. Speaking of Howard Finkel and Michael Cole, taking on, this is the Royal Rumble.
yeah.
So Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler, Harold Finkel, Michael Cole, super fun to play as like different. I thought it was kind of cool to be able to put these characters in and make them playable in the game. So I'm going to kind of scroll through some of these screenshots. We've kind of been neglecting them.
Yeah, that would be a good match.
Yeah, the Hardys versus the Dudleys tag team match at SummerSlam. And then you've got Austin and Rock with Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Triple H, as the special guest referee. Undertaker versus Kurt Angle. So, This is completely off topic since we've got some viewers in here. I want to not really debate, but I got a question. Completely again off script. Chase is in the chat. He loves when we go off script. I want to ask you, and this is just your personal opinion. Which championship belt did you prefer in WWF? Did you prefer the winged eagle or did you prefer the big eagle?
Well, I'll start it off. I preferred the one on the left. I preferred the big one, the big eagle. Well, I guess that's not really the big eagle, but the one on the left, the newer WWF logo, championship. So, yeah.
Well, I thought we were going to debate, but I also prefer that. That's actually, if I were to buy another championship belt, which behind me you can see I've got I'm all backwards. The television title and the AEW tag, I would buy the Big Eagle as my third if I didn't get a Fountain City Pro one, which that really needs to be my third one. But yeah, absolutely loved the one. I mean, they're both beautiful belts. Don't get me wrong. I got a gnat flying around, so I apologize.
You just want to be on the show, man.
Yeah, we're live, pal. But anyway, the one on the left, I like that's like synonymous to me when I'm thinking of WWF. That's the belt they were using when I finally made the switch over from WCW because I was a big, avid WCW watcher. I did not channel flip, did not channel surf until 2000 when WCW was in a complete nosedive. And it was right around the Chris Benoit because I was a huge Benoit fan. And when he won the title, I was so pumped. And then he left and he went to WWF, and I was like, all right, I guess let me go check, see what they got going on over there. And then that's when I started it. And that's around the time, I don't know if it was exactly, but that's around the time they had that Big Eagle belt. So
yeah.
All right. So topic diverted.
Real quick, a little side note here.
Yeah.
On the title thing. Now, ever since it came out, I've always liked the belt. And honestly, if I were to get another wrestling, because I have the WCW title, but it was the WWE title as an actual belt. But if I were to get another one, honestly, I would probably get John Cena's U.S. spinner title because for whatever reason, man, I love that belt. It's a great belt. Never would have thought I'd see a spinner on a world title or on a belt in general. I mean, but for whatever reason, I always liked the belt, and I always just thought that was so cool seeing him come out and spin it, and you know, it was cool. I like the U.S. spinner title a lot better than the WWE World Championship or WWE title spinner belt. I thought the U.S. spinner title was a lot cleaner looking than that WWE title was.
Well, I'll get you in contact with MA Championship belts, and same one that made my WCW television title behind me. He'll hook you up with with a solid spinner because, like I said, I love unique belts. I love getting the ones like you don't see the television title hardly ever in a collection. AEW tag I've seen a couple times, but that'd be cool for you to get that US just because I don't see it. You know, I don't see people have it. You know, I've seen the other one, the world title spinner, but anyway, we got way off track there. Let's we already kind of talked about the game modes with the exhibition, the Royal Rumble, and you mentioned a little bit about the survival. What all remind me, because you obviously you had No Mercy as an arena.
Yep.
And then you had Raw is War and SmackDown.
Yep.
What did they have all? Remind me, did they have all of the pay-per-views from that year?
Yeah, pretty much. I think they're probably missing a couple. But they had No Mercy, King of the Ring, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, Armageddon, and Backlash. So yeah, and then And then Armageddon and Backlash, of course, you bought in the SmackDown mall. So, but yeah. Chase probably knows what, if any, what pay-per-views would probably be missing out of that. Maybe Bad Blood? Maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, so WrestleMania, No Mercy, King of the Ring, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, Armageddon, Backlash. This would have been in 99. Yeah, see, this is before my really full dive into WWF. So I don't remember. Yeah. Anyway. Speaking of belts, we kind of jumped around a little bit. Like, what a cool, this game's would be a cool feature, because if they had it in WrestleMania 2000 was a create a belt mode. And that's which the new games now, when they first introduced that, absolutely loved it. But what a feature that could have been in No Mercy.
Yeah, because so they had it in WrestleMania 2000. It wasn't the greatest. All you would do was pick a name of your belt, and then you had to pick one of the current WWF or WWE titles at the time. So you had to make it look like another belt. But yeah, if they would have kept that feature in No Mercy, it definitely, they could have improved on it and made it better. They could have added more titles. And that would have just been a different, cool kind of, feature to have. But they didn't, for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't have enough memory. But again, if they would have used the expansion pack as part of the game, then who knows? They probably could have. So but there's
that's CM Punk with whose face is that? The Rock?
That's The Rock's face, and that's Saturn's tattoos.
Saturn's tattoos. So we're looking at screenshots for those listening on the podcast platform at Creative Wrestlers. And then some entrance screenshots. X-Pac. Love that one, man. The Rock we already kind of saw earlier. Even for 2000, man, this is phenomenal graphics. Look at the stage, man.
Looks really good.
Yeah. Looks phenomenal. And you got Godfather.
Oh, yeah.
The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Kurt Angle looked good.
Oh, yeah.
Love the gold medals. That was a good addition to the game.
Yep. And then Eddie Guerrero with China, which ironically now both of those two are no longer with us.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about, man.
It's a shame.
Eddie Guerrero was awesome.
Yeah, he was. Yes, he was. Al Snow. There's another Jericho one, but let's I got one more gameplay clip, and then we can kind of start closing this episode out. This is at the very start of the game. It's nothing too spectacular, but it is kind of your first entrance into the story mode and kind of what the gameplay looked like.
man, Austin taking it to Taka Michinoku. I like it. I like it.
If Stone Cold were to face Taka Michinoku in real life, that's about as fast as the match I would expect it to be.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
About a minute and a half.
Yeah. God, man.
What
It's
a
awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
I have so much memories, man. I love this game. This is one of my favorites. This just going back and watching these clips, I still need to get that damn game that game stick or that game system hooked up somehow. I might do that right when this is over, and just get it. I don't want my kids to tear it up or move it around or jack with it, because they are really hard with those damn Xbox controllers. I'm surprised they're still working, to be honest with you. But so kind of getting down toward the bottom here, there was there's a section I kind of wanted to talk about with a missing wrestler, and that was the Giant, Paul White, the Big Show, who was in WrestleMania 2000, but was not in this one. I guess he got sent down to this was this around the time he got sent down to OVW?
It was.
So he got sent down, and I guess that meant you're not going to be in the game. So
yep, they wanted him to focus on his health and try to help him lose weight. So,
which he did, and then he went up and down like in his career. I feel like he was real big, then he got thinner, then he got big, and now he's pretty thin now. Like if he's in AEW, but is he still in AEW? I think he is. And but anyway, he was in WrestleMania 2000, and let's talk real quick about the wrestlers that you could. So the cool thing about, I know we've talked about create a wrestler on like 3 or 4 different times in this episode, and that's probably because it's one of our favorite parts of this game.
Yeah,
was the fact that we can create the creativity we can put into the game. But and a lot of games now, and way back then too, they would do like presets where you could like you'd create a wrestler, and then if you did in the games that did like entrances, they would do complete entrances of like Hulk Hogan, even though he was in WCW, or whatever.
Yep.
And you could create the guy and put it perfect. What wrestlers were we able to kind of create basically from scratch almost perfectly in the game?
So, not some of the greatest wrestlers, to ever be in a wrestling ring, but, certainly each of them had, definitely something memorable. So there was Midian, Mosh and Thrasher, Gangrel, Joey Abs, Rodney, Pete Gas, so the Mean Street Posse, and Dude Love. But yeah, they had their full profile pictures, their looks on there. I think their clothing items and everything on there. And for some reason, they weren't actually in the game.
They had their profile pictures?
Yeah, they had their profile pictures.
But they weren't in the game.
But they weren't technically part of the roster, no. So it almost makes you think whether or not that they were supposed to actually be in the game at one point, and maybe they just ran out of memory or something. But I don't know.
That's possible.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure they had, some of their moves and stuff like that in it. And
yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow.
It was, yeah. I mean, and why, and again, why include their profile pictures if you're going to not have them in the actual game? Just like going back to the Big Show, like one of the biggest wrestlers essentially that WWE had, and just because he got sent to OVW, he got taken out of the game, and then of course, when they did take him out, they still had him in story mode. They had him in a world championship story mode on there. So they just took him out and replaced him with, of all people, Steven Richards. And which, he was part of the Right to Censor at the time, the group. I remember that. I don't know, man. It's weird. So
still, I mean, you're probably right. What happened? They probably ran out of memory or storage space, and they decided, you know what, we'll just leave everything in there. We'll leave the ability to create them, and if they want them, they can do it.
Yeah.
So and definitely Dude Love would be top of my list of all of those. It would be definitely Dude Love. I know Mosh and Thrasher was pretty cool too.
Yeah, the Headbangers, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And Gangrel too. I mean, I take that back.
The Brood, yeah.
That's not a bad list.
No, it's not. But I mean, there's not really anybody that's gonna put necessarily draw a big crowd, but Yeah.
Depends on what your definition of big crowd is.
Well, yeah, that's true.
You bring Gangrel or Dude Love into a say Fountain City Pro, they may draw in a big crowd.
Yeah, that's true.
Big crowd to our standards, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. So, yeah, dude, this was a super fun episode. I really enjoyed it. I do want to ask before we go, rank real quick, right off the top, and I already know what you're going to do. Rank the big four, 1 through 4. Rank these right here, favorite to least favorite. Go.
No Mercy, Revenge, WrestleMania 2000, and World Tour.
So World Tour's 4?
Oh, yeah, because that wasn't my first game that I played. I played Revenge before I played World Tour. So
I would probably flip-flop. I would probably say No Mercy is my favorite. Revenge, World Tour, WrestleMania 2000.
Yeah.
So, and the only reason why is because I didn't play WrestleMania 2000.
Yeah.
So that's a game. So that's a game that I would not have much. Huh?
Yeah, I almost went Revenge, No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000 World Tour. I almost went that way because, I mean, Revenge was the first one of the series that I played, and that I fell in love with. So,
yeah. I mean, you could be a little biased because of that. I get that. I just think No Mercy just stepped it up a notch. Right, they took what Revenge and World Tour did well, and they
made it better.
I think did it better. Yeah, I mean, Revenge started with the entrances. No Mercy did it better. The creation suite, No Mercy's better. The graphics, No Mercy's better. So I think with it being WCW, I would think I would pick Revenge just because I was a bigger fan of them in the '90s, late '90s. Yeah. But as far as an overall game, No Mercy, almost by far, in my opinion. Yeah. And then the other 3, or the other 2, I can't say nothing about WrestleMania, but the other 2 are kind of a little bit further down in my book. So
yeah. I mean, the other day, when I say the other day, probably been over a month now. I played World Tour. And, the crowd, and I was just telling you this, in a text message, that the crowd on that game literally looks like garbage, like actual pieces of garbage. Like you can't even really tell that it's a crowd because that's how bad it looked, Yeah. But then when you got No Mercy, you've got actual people that look like the crowd members, and then you've got people holding up signs and stuff like that, So.
Yep.
Lots of graphical improvements on that.
Yeah, 100%. I think what happened was they focused heavily on the in ring and aspect of it, and they're like they got all the way through with it, and they're like, oh shit, we need to have these wrestlers in front of a crowd, so let's just quickly have somebody scribble something on the
Yeah.
screen, and I think that's what happened, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And like I said, each level got higher because I mean, you look back at like Super Nintendo or even regular Nintendo, it's grainy, but you can tell it's a crowd. World
Yeah.
Tour's crowd is pretty piss poor.
I mean, the crowd in the ring on Mike Tyson's Punch Out even looks better than the crowd on on World Tour did, and that's saying something.
Yeah. Yep. All right. There you have it, ladies, gentlemen, everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys for participating in this episode.
Yeah,
WWF No Mercy.
Yeah, when we have your guys' interaction with us, it makes our episode that much better. So we definitely encourage you guys to keep watching us, keep throwing your comments or your questions out there, because we feed off of that stuff. It just makes for a better show. So
it does. Look, we're at an hour and 20 minutes. And that was a lot to do with the interaction with the comments, which is great. Like, we love doing that. And it helps, like Stitch said, content, helps with creativity. It helps with, things we may not have thought about. The Mr. Rogers story was phenomenal. Appreciate Chase for bringing that up. But what we're going to do now, as we always do, is we always end each and every episode with the pop culture section, which is a glimpse in history, a snapshot in history of what was released or going on during the time of the video game that we are talking about, which would have been in November of 2000, almost 2001, but it's November of 2000. So the movie that was released in November of 2000 was one. Sorry, I got a screenshot popping up. We got so many of them. I got to scroll through them. The screenshot that we have for the movie was Charlie's Angels with Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu. Nonstop laughs and fun, a great ride. Have you ever seen Charlie's Angels?
I think I've seen clips of it. I don't think I ever watched the full movie.
Did you watch the original? Because this is not the original.
No, the original came out in like the 60s or 70s. I've seen clips of it here and there.
Yeah.
Because
go ahead.
Jane Fonda? Is that the famous actress? Jane Fonda, that was one of Charlie's Angels in the original.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I believe so. Yep. So Charlie's Angels, let us know in the chat, in the comments, if you've ever seen that movie, what you think of it. I know it was a pretty popular movie back in the day. So let's move on to the TV show. And this one's a good one because we've already talked about this TV show a little bit. Neither one of us are that familiar with it because it came out a little bit after our time as watching this channel. But we had an episode about a month and a half ago on Cartoon Network. And the show that came out in November of 2000 was a show known as Sheep in the Big City. And I remember seeing a bunch of commercials for this. But again, I was at this point 13 years old in 2000, somewhere around there. I was not watching much Cartoon Network or cartoons in general, so I don't remember this that much. What say you?
No, I don't. Not at all, man. I remember the title of it. I remember like the name of the show. I never saw it. So
yeah,
at least not that I remember, anyways. Yep.
Little bit past our time. We were the 90s babies, right? We grew up in the cartoon era of like, mid 90s, Nickelodeon, Doug, Rugrats, If you watch Nickelodeon or the early cartoons, Dexter's Laboratory. This was the back end of our childhood. So, and then I got a screenshot here of the toy that was released in November of 2000. It's not really a toy because it's hard to find toys. I can find toys that were popular in November, but it's hard to find when they were actually released. But this line of toys, and I kind of always veer back to McDonald's toys, the 101 Dalmatians set, which I do remember this. My sister had a bunch of them. And it was just cool to have that many toys available. And it shows you that we probably ate McDonald's way too much because I recognize quite a few of these.
But, that was back then we could get away with eating McDonald's all the time, man. Because,
You're telling me.
And you know what?
Go ahead.
Well, I've never seen that many toys in a lineup from like a store like that.
Oh, yeah, you never get this many on a fast food chain. You get like 5 or 6.
Yeah, the only other one that comes to mind, which is more recently, more newer, was when Burger King released those little NFL jerseys that me and you sat and collected. So
yeah, the only one that I've got left is
Jones Drew.
Yeah, it might be out there on my in my actual basement room, but my sister had like a little it might have been a Beanie Baby or something, and it was a bear. It's a white bear, and she put the Jones Drew jersey on it.
That's cool.
And then gave it to me, and I've had it ever since. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's up on my mantle.
Yeah,
in my basement there. But
I was actually at a place kind of over here by me. It was basically called Pickers. It's called Pickers Paradise. It's in Holton, so it's actually 30 minutes away. But it's basically got a bunch of old stuff, and they actually had one of the jerseys, and it was still in the package. It was actually one I didn't even have because I still have all mine. So I ended up buying it, and it was only $2. It was actually the Cowboys, and I believe it was number 21. So I believe it's Marion Barber, but I can't say 100% if it actually is him because I haven't actually looked at it, fully. I bought it, brought it inside, and then it just sat there. But yeah, it's still in the package. So yeah,
nice.
Good way to spend $2.
Yeah. I wish a Josta can cost $2 because I'd have one right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I've got, you can't really see, but I made bank. I made out pretty damn good at my dad's house this weekend. He had a bunch of old stuff. If you can see that, it's hard to. Anyway, that yellow crate, that is an original crate from like the 80s when he first started.
Yeah.
And then down below here, you can see there's like a metal case, 2 of them that he gave me with a bunch of old bottles. So, and I'm doing, I know you don't get on TikTok very much, but I'm doing those I saw some of them. Yeah, so I'm kind of showing some of the old ones and trying to find the origin story of like where we got it, where it's from, and all that good stuff. So,
well, that's cool.
It's been pretty fun. So,
yeah.
Well, you got anything else before we close this out?
No, not really, man. I think we pretty much covered everything.
What an episode! This was fun, man. What do we got coming up next week? We're gonna go off the beaten path again. We're gonna veer away from video games. What do you want to talk about next week?
Well, there's a certain place that we all used to go to on Friday, Saturday night where we'd borrow some movies from them and return them within a couple days.
Well, what would happen if we didn't return them in a couple days?
Well, we had to pay for them.
It's slapped with a late fee.
Yep. Slapped us with a late fee.
So we are going to we're gonna veer away from not wrestling, but veer away from video games, and we're going to talk about the video rental store Blockbuster, and really video stores in general, not just Blockbuster. We'll kind of dive into all the craze that was video rental stores, Blockbuster being the biggest one, obviously, and then we'll talk about the history, our memories of going there on a Friday night, Saturday night, like Stitch was saying, and all that good stuff. So that's going to be a fun one. We'll be here next Tuesday, live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. Make sure you like, share, subscribe on whatever platform you're watching on. If you're listening to us on the podcast platform, because I know there's a ton of podcast listens, like, follow, share, all that good stuff. We really appreciate you listening over there on our podcast page. And then let us know, comment which platform you listen on, because I can't really tell. It's not really, it's hard for me to tell which platform. I can see the listens, I can see the plays. I just can't really tell where you're listening from. But yeah, Stitch, this has been another episode of Nostalgia Mania. I'm your host, the real Josh Elliott. This is my co-host, Derrick Stitchamania. And
so I've got a little teaser regarding next week's episode. I actually happen to remember the very last thing or movie that I bought from Blockbuster right before it closed down. So, and it's actually a sequel to a movie. So now the sequel wasn't as popular as the first one, but it's pretty well-known movie. So, comment and let us know what you think that movie is. And I'll let you know in the episode. So,
do you still have it?
I do.
All right. Is it still in the Blockbuster? Is it in
I
a
don't
Blockbuster
actually
case?
have what?
Is it still in the Blockbuster case?
Well, it's in the case that it was in, but it's not an actual Blockbuster case.
Oh.
No. What's funny though is I have not actually seen the original, which is pretty sad. But I don't have the original. So, but yeah.
Nice. All right. So tune in next week. We'll talk about Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, Family Video, whatever video rental store that you guys did. We will comment, let us know. We'll definitely include that in the episode, but we'll primarily be talking about the big 3 or 4 that were around the country, primarily being Blockbuster. So we'll see you guys next week. I am the real Josh Elliott. This is my co-host Derrick Stitchamania. And Stitch, why don't you do us the favor and do us the honor?
Let's get nostalgic.
Through the 80s and 90s, the games